Hi everyone, my name is Luce. I'm a friend of Shiva's and he asked me to make this video to explain a few things. I have to say that I'm slightly responsible for having lost this camera. Well, it was stolen, but I happened to be carrying it when the robbery took place. So I'm making this video to talk about the footage that we lost on that camera. We had gone to this place called Nueva Bretania, which is part of the Peruvian Amazon, and our intention of going there was to learn about dolphin communication. And so a bunch of us went. There's probably about 10 of us. We had some yogis that came from California. And the reason why I, myself personally, was part of this project was that I had met James earlier in my South American journeys, and he told me about this film project of learning about dolphin communication. And it just so happened that the whole previous year I had been writing a novel in which my main character goes to South America to talk with dolphins. And when James told me this, I said, well, of course I need to come, because that's my book. So I went with them to Nueva Bretania. It's about 5 hours by boat from Pucallpa. And as time continued while we were there, we began to realize that it seemed as though we were there for a different reason, that we had been brought there for some other reason, which was that the town, the village that we were staying in, had a bit of an imbalance, and we were asked by people in the town to help them solve this crisis that they were having. The village is 18 homes about. It's a Shipibo community. They are growing bananas to sell about 5 hours away in Pucallpa, and other places too perhaps. But it's very, very poor in the sense that there isn't any money flow, and on top of that, the natural resources aren't really being used to their potential. So even with subsistence living, it's gone completely, I don't know what the word is, it's not functioning. So there is a huge sense of poverty there, poverty of not knowing or not using the natural resources to the greatest effect. Basically all that's being grown is bananas and yucca, and even some factory farm chickens that are brought in. And it's all stuck into the slavery system where it seems as though the city's the only place to go, and the city is also even more so of a slavery system, and it's driving the whole cycle of exploitation. So I had got into Nueva Bretania a day before Shiva and Myra and Shiva's sister. And during that time, things are feeling a little off, but we were just kind of getting to know the place. And the next day, Shiva and Myra and Emily are getting off the boat, and I just happened to be the first person that saw them getting off the boat. So I brought them over to meet our host. Our host was a young woman from Belgium who is dating a Shipibo man who is from that community. And they actually don't live in this village anymore. They live in the mountains. And they were visiting family that weekend. And they had us stay in Lucho, the boyfriend's grandfather's house. So I was trying to coordinate with Celine, the woman from Belgium, to find a home for Shiva and Myra and Emily to stay in. And she just went crazy. She did not want them here. We couldn't figure out why. It was very weird to have a pregnant woman come off a boat and for this Belgian woman to just go up to her and yell at her and tell her that she has to leave. It was incomprehensible to me at the time. Things escalated in the conversation in which Celine told us to leave her community. She said, leave my community, which was a bit strange, being that she's from Belgium and has just been there not many years. And the situation is that Celine brings visitors to Nueva Bretania, but only a couple at a time, and they stay only at her house. She wanted us to pay, oh, I just feel like I'm gossiping. How do I get to the point? The point is that there is this woman in Nueva Bretania that was disrupting the balance of the community. Basically, she brings tourists in, a couple at a time. They pay a lot of money only to her family. And they're making, I mean, not much money, but when you compare it to the people all around them. So these houses, they're lined up in rows, and they're all facing each other. They're one room, basically, wooden homes with nothing in them. Maybe a kitchen table, hot plate, and a mosquito net with a blanket underneath it. That's what the homes are. Celine's house and the parents of her boyfriend, they have a television in which they actually charge other community members to watch TV, I was told. They have a huge satellite dish, a bathroom, a refrigerator, and kind of a broken down shower system. But they have so much money and it's just on display to everybody else around them, and it was really disrupting the balance. But on top of that, they're bringing in foreigners from different places, and nobody in the community actually ever gets to meet them except for her family. And the neighbors and the other people in the village, when they see the foreigners walking around, they don't like it because they don't even get to meet them, and it just is very rude. So we began to realize that the reason why Celine didn't want us there was because we were actually engaging ourselves with the community. I don't want to focus too much attention on her or try to say the case on that. It's kind of irrelevant. The issue was that as we had Emily, Shiva, and Myra decided that they were going to leave. I mean, Celine told them to leave and they didn't feel welcome, so they were waiting to get back on the boat. They had just gone on a 5-hour boat ride to get there, but they were going to do the 5 hours back because there was no welcome at all for them, to say the least. I could not stand to watch a pregnant women get yelled at like that, or just shown so much just non-compassion. So I decided to pack up my bags and I was going to go back with them. But as we were waiting for the boat to come, we see different community members come up to us, and they start to tell us, oh, well, how are you leaving already? You just got here, like, what's that all about? All sorts of questions about why we were leaving, or telling us that we should stay, and then they started telling us their own stories and how they felt, and that they didn't like the way foreigners were coming in and not meeting them, and that Celine was taking all this money and not sharing it, or creating some kind of community event around this very big event to have foreigners coming into a very small, secluded area where most people never leave. It's a big deal to have new faces walking around. So they asked us to stay, and they found us a home. The chief came and he welcomed us. He found us a home too, and food and all of that, and they took care of us. So that's why we decided to stay. Eric and I stayed the longest, and before leaving we did a special ceremony which he asked me to talk about. And the idea was to create pillars of light around the community.